Hello all, and I'm back. So, for those of you, this will be kind of a catch-up vid, and also for those of you that did not see um, the streaming thing I did on last Friday, I might try to do another one this Friday. I will let everybody know probably when I put up the Dark review. Yes, I will put up another Dark review, as much as I don't want to put up a Dark review because I feel like they're just punishing me. But at this point, I'm like, I'm going to keep watching this, and I'm going to keep bitching about AEW Dark until they decide to change it, unless I just can't take it anymore. I mean, I could always watch the New Japan America show. What is that? New Japan Power. I could watch that, and I might start watching that because that's something I have not watched. So that might be something I do in its place. But it's very sucky that NXT or NXT that AEW puts on these really good shows. And if you look at like last week, I think it was last week, right? You had Dark, you had the uh, the late night show, and then you had the Dynamite, right? And the late night show was pretty much what Dynamite should be, or what Dark should be, and it's not. So it's not like they can't do it. They just refuse to do it because I guess they're like, well, we'll just put a bunch of wrestling on and just stick it on YouTube, and who cares? And that's fine, but at the same time, it would, you're not doing the guys any service if all you're doing is just sending them out there and having them wrestle. You do need to have them cut promos, and not doing that, I think, just is not a good idea. But that's just me. So, and especially when it's an hour and a half show. Really, an hour and a half show? I don't get it. I just cannot fathom it. But if you did not watch those, I talked about night 3, night 4, a little bit, and then of course I watched night 5, which was awesome. So we'll just kind of go through some of this stuff. So night 3 was very good, I would say. I think one of the things is that the level for G1 is very high, and I don't think I think the shows, I think the matches are delivering, but I don't think the shows are necessarily delivering. And I think the reason is I love, there's a part of me that loves that the tags aren't on here because it makes the shows so much easier to watch. Yet I think that the tags did add just enough as far as like to the matches and to like those like little storylines that are in the that go throughout the tournament, and I think we're kind of missing that. And so some of these matches just not that they come off flat, they just maybe aren't as great as they should be or could be, I think. So I think that's kind of missing in some of these, I've noticed, because the wrestling's been very solid for the most part, but we just haven't seen that. So, night 3, we had Gabriel Kidd, who I guess he's the most experienced out of all of the young lions. I guess he's not necessarily what you would call a young lion, but he's really good. And I love the fact that the thing is, if you watch these young lions matches, the thing that I just find so cool about them is that they've been taught to sell. Everybody's like take a bear hug, right? Everybody's like, a bear hug. But if you sell the bear hug right, it works. If you look at like the Von Erich claw, right? If you sell it right, even though it's not really anything, it works. And the problem is that people get in bear hugs and they're just like, oh, and it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Make it look like something's going on. Sell your back. Don't just like sell that it hurts. Actually sell what's going on. Sell that they're like grinding, into the small of your back, and you can like, it's just like, all of that. It's easy to do. But anyways, not that happened here, but this is kind of an example. But these guys sell really good. This was another like okay match, but it was short. It's kind of just fun to watch, sort of thing. So there we go. Then we had Jeff Cobb versus Shingo Takagi. That's what I have to say about that. Two dudes just going at it. That's what I like. Personally, a big man match that wasn't a big man match. How's that? Then you had Okada versus Yujiro. Yeah, it was okay. Then we had Taichi versus Suzuki. So this kind of match kind of pissed me off because Taichi won, and I was like, really? I mean, he's having a really good tournament. It's not Taichi being like normal, like it normally is, where he's just lazy. But it was good, but it was just kind of, it just left a really bad taste in my mouth, right? Then we had Ospreay versus Ishii. This was great. My only issue is that, like, I feel like, and this is kind of what I was talking about with the tags, I feel like things start going and then they end, and I'm kind of like, I want more. And I think if the tags were there, it would, like, help with the story a little bit more, where I wouldn't feel like the ending was just like, eh. I feel like a lot of the endings just aren't as powerful as they need to be, if that makes sense. Then we had Jay White versus Ibushi. Off the top of my head, I want to say this is the best Jay White match. The problem with Jay White matches is, it's not that they're bad, because Marquine will get upset, Nightmare Baller will get upset if I just feel like all Jay White matches are just, because that's not the case. It's the way his matches are. In the context of what they're supposed to be, I get it. I don't hate them. I'm not like some people. But at the same time, and I'll talk about this later, if he's not in there with the right guy, the match can be just kind of like there and not as good as it should be. This was still really good because you have Ibushi, and Ibushi is awesome. So there you go. Then we had night 4. This was good, I would say. Again, probably not as good as it should have been. But it was not that it under-delivered, but again, I think it's just missing something. And not that I want the tags back per se, just something that I've noticed. So we had the Young Lions match, which was another okay match, right? Then you had Okada versus SANADA, or Goto versus SANADA. I expected more of this match. It was good. That was about it. Then you had Yano versus Tanahashi. I kind of expected more of this as well. It was just kind of okay. Was kind of shocked that Yano won, but that is kind of what it is. You had Juice Robinson versus Kenta. I love Kenta. I don't think Kenta's had like a blowout match on here. I don't know if he would have a blowout match, but his matches have been good. Juice Robinson is pretty good. So his new look is kind of bothering me, but that is what it is. I didn't like Nakamura's new look when he first debuted either, so what do I know? Then you had, I don't know why this was second to the top, Evil versus YOSHI-HASHI. This was good. It was, they're trying with Yoshi, but at the same time, it's just, yeah. Then we had Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. I love Zack Sabre Jr. Him and Naito have really good matches together, I feel. This was good stuff, So, there you go. And then we had Night 5, which was, without a doubt, the best match. This was the, this show will be awesome. I don't think I think it underperformed a little bit, but I will get to why I think that happened. But again, we had a really good Young Lions match. And then we had Taichi versus Yujiro. They got that out of the way, thank God. I know some people really like that match. I didn't. I wanted it over. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just, it was just like them both being them, and then there's just like the ending, and I was just like, whatever, I'm done. We had Suzuki versus Cobb. I felt like this underperformed. It was good, but I felt like it didn't go as long as it could have. I'm sure they probably haven't wrestled a lot with each other, so there was kind of that. But I did like the fact that they kind of started out and they did, like, I commented on Twitter that they looked like they were auditioning for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, because that's kind of like what they started off with, which is fine because given who both guys are. So there was that. Then we had Ibushi versus Ishii. This was awesome. You need to see this match. Told a really good story. I really liked it. I liked the fact that they were just being kind of dicks to each other. So that was really good. You had Shingo versus Ospreay. They have awesome chemistry. I didn't like it probably as much as a lot of other people did. Not, and that doesn't mean I just thought it was like because it was really really great. It may be the best match of the tournament. It was so good, and so yeah. Then we had Jay White versus Okada, and this is kind of what I was talking about with Jay White. So you got the whole Okada thing, and because of like the story they're telling with Okada matches are just kind of there, and then you have Jay White, and I think the fact that you have that just did not help this match at all. It was good, but it wasn't what you expected, and I think when people first like circled this, I think they were expecting this to be like really awesome, and you would have like 3 to 4 awesome matches on this card, with a very short card, and this would just be an awesome, awesome show. And it was a great show, but it wasn't that great of a show because of that. So yeah, I'm not so sure about the Okada thing. I guess when Okada starts winning, we'll see how everything goes. I kind of, me personally, this is kind of what I thought they would do. It might not be what they do, but I really just felt with everything going on that we would get Okada and Tanahashi in the finals, just as because that's like the match they could do, and then have Okada win. That was just kind of my thing. But we will see. I'm doing terrible in my pick'ems, so and I knew that was kind of a stretch anyways, but I'm still doing like horrible. So there we go. Now let's talk about a little NXT. Why? Not that I've watched NXT, but I always get asked, always, because people know I don't watch WWE, right? And they're like, hey, you don't watch WWE, but you should watch NXT because NXT is not, it's not Raw, it's not SmackDown, it's not horrible like them. Though I will tell you that, not that I ever thought that, like when they went to 2 hours, and I'm glad, to me and everything that I've read, I would get very like, not that I would think the show was horrible, but I would just think that the normal NXT show would just be kind of there. And I say that because I feel like the NXT show, like, I could see where it would get very repetitive. NXT starting out was supposed to be developmental. It was supposed to be a place for people to learn how to wrestle, or at least learn how to wrestle the WWE way, right? Because they closed down Florida, FCW, and then they started up NXT. And when NXT started, it was really good because for the most part you had people cycling through, and it kept the roster fresh, which I think is something that the regular WWE roster really suffers from, is not freshness of the roster, because they're so scared of letting anybody go that they just are like, you know what, it's been nice, we really don't have plans for you, so go on your merry way. And they won't do that because they're scared that if they let somebody go, that they'll turn into like a big star, and you'll have something crazy happen, and all of a sudden they have competition, right? Which is why they got kind of pissed off about the fact that Ring of Honor was doing these really big shows, even if they weren't drawing really great, but they were, WWE was kind of like, and so they started doing the NXT shows to combat Ring of Honor and the other indies. And then, of course, you had All In, and then after All In, and it was evident that there was probably be a promotion coming out of All In, then they started signing up even more people, and so now you have this like backlog of people, plus the people that they've signed to train in NXT, and they're just sitting there and it's stagnant. And so that's one of the reasons. But the big reason why I'm just like, even with NXT, is guys leave NXT, or women, people leave NXT, and for the most part, they are completely misused. They're not, Vince is like, I don't see what the big deal is with this guy or this person, because he's so out of touch, and he doesn't get it, and he doesn't, like you look at Keith Lee, like tonight, or like earlier tonight, I saw lots of people complaining about Keith Lee because Keith Lee came up, and here's a guy you would think, Vince would be all over, and he's just like, he hasn't been used right at all. Apparently his music has been changed, all of other stuff. And it's like, why watch this when I know that, first of all, you're going to have this, guys aren't going to cycle through. And AEW may suffer from this eventually as well, where, they're not cycling people through, but we'll see. And then they go to, I enjoy these people. I'm fans of the people in NXT, and then they go to the main roster and they're just completely like, ugh. And how does that help NXT? Because now you're using NXT to fight AEW, and we know this because you can look at the fact that when they went unopposed, they did better. And when they went on Tuesday, they did a whole lot better. And so it would be like, do you want the show to do good, or you just? But we all know that they just don't want AEW to do well, and it hasn't worked. And instead of throwing in the towel, they're just like, okay, we'll just keep doing this. We'll keep doing this. We'll keep doing this. And the thing is, eventually, AEW is going to be like out and about again at some point, maybe sometime next year. They're gonna, people are gonna start going to their shows. That's going to look more lively. I mean, that was one of the big problems with NXT before, was that you would watch AEW and it was like, wow, listen to the fans, listen, there was a lot more to it. And when you start adding in everything else, they have, when everything comes back, and plus there's talent that we haven't even seen for a long time. What's going to happen? So yeah, but the whole reason why I don't watch NXT is because of that. Because I'm not going to watch something where I'm going to invest in somebody, they're going to go to the main roster, and then it's just going to be like, okay, why? And plus the fact of everything else that I just don't want to support WWE. That's just what it comes down to. So I have other things, I have other promotions I can watch without having to be belittled, without having to make people, watching a show where my intelligence is just like if I watched a regular TV show, right, and they did the things WWE did, I would stop watching it. So why wouldn't I stop watching WWE? Because I've watched it forever? No, that's ridiculous. Yeah, so why would you do that? Because, if you watch WWE, the fact that, here's a good example. Me and Instant Classic, we kind of talked about this today on Twitter. The fact that you had Roman Reigns, right? And Roman Reigns is now a heel, and apparently, surprise, he's really good as a heel, and it works amazingly well because he's a natural heel, and everybody pretty much saw that. Now, you can take a natural heel, turn him into a cool heel, and then eventually he becomes a babyface. That happens all the time. You had a guy who could have been a super babyface, and Daniel Bryan at the time. You simply go, you know what, this isn't going where we think it needs to go. We'll make Daniel Bryan the guy. We'll make him the heel, and you could have had this awesome feud. And not only that, you could have made it so that it was like a long-lasting feud. You could have made it where they're just not even a feud; they're just rivals, right? And so eventually, and that would have been money. And then you could have just kept them as rivals, and then eventually you do an angle where you do a double turn. You do Brett versus Austin, and imagine if you go to Daniel Bryan and you're like, hey, we need to do the double turn. We need to do Austin versus Brett. And he's like, let me do this. Imagine in his creative genius as a pro wrestler what he'd have been able to do. And we didn't get that because they can't listen to their fans because they're like, well, we know better. And you might know better. Like, there's a difference between knowing better and between, like, you know what, this isn't working. Maybe we need, and not listening to your fans. There's a huge difference in that. And they just don't do this. So, it's like it is almost like if you watch WWE, it is like the last 20 years of TV never happened because there's none of the advancement. There's none of the, hey, storylines matter. Like things have to make sense now. You watch the best TV shows, like very seldomly are there drop storylines, or there's stuff that don't make sense, or if they do, it's like some little thing, and then they usually there's like stuff that happens way down the line. We always hear that, oh well, storylines have to be over in very shortly. Yet if you watch a regular TV show, right, and your regular TV show isn't on all the time, but if you watch a regular TV show, they'll have storylines that will go seasons before there's a payoff. And you're telling me WWE can't do that within like a couple months? Really? Just don't buy it. But anyways, I've talked long enough. We'll probably you know, most of you will see this probably after the New Japan, the G1 from the night, so night 6. And I will probably, because it's such a late show, and the kid, actually his birthday was yesterday, and so I actually stayed home, which is why I'm doing this tonight, because normally I wouldn't be able to do this tonight, especially now. But I will watch the Ring of Honor show and probably put up a Ring of Honor review as well. So there is that as well. So, anyways, have a good one. I will talk to you guys later.